Welcome to Guitar Gallery, it's Stefan, and today we have John Soderlund from Pietermaritzburg visiting us. John is a luthier there and contacted me a few days ago actually saying that you're going to be up here in Joburg. You've got some prototypes of some new acoustic guitars that you're working on, and just to bring that through, and I thought let's share that with the rest of you out there. So John, maybe just to start with, how long have you been building guitars?
I've been building for about 6 years, building acoustics and electrics, but for the last little while I've been working expressly on these acoustic guitars as a kind of redesign of the whole acoustic guitar concept really, and how it's put together to try and deal with some of the kind of legacy problems of traditional designs. Yeah.
So very different to what I'm used to and what I see. So influences in terms of design and building?
So you're probably aware that this is kind of the golden age of luthiery. There are many luthiers who are doing amazingly innovative work. So a lot of my influences are those kind of guys. Top of the list, I think, is Michihiro Matsuda.
Yeah.
He's a Japanese guy who I think is resident in the States. He's certainly got the most forward-thinking design concepts of any luthier. So these are kind of in the spirit of Michi Matsuda. Other luthiers are kind of people like Harry Fleischman and Irvin Samoji. But really, there's so many innovative builders at the moment that there's plenty to draw from.
So let's maybe quickly focus on the design principles of this guitar, and I'll ask some things that's quite obvious to me that's different, and if you can explain that,
Sure.
and then maybe we can go into the guitar. So the first thing for me is obviously this sound hole and the way the neck joins the body.
Right.
Maybe just explain to us
Sure.
what's happening here.
So it's a little bit of biomimicry in a way. Most creatures are built with a solid spine, and the spine is the kind of center of a skeleton upon which the body is built. It makes complete sense for me that the guitar is built along similar principles. So what these guitars have is a pretty solid spine. It runs from the headstock right through to the heel block. And it's got bracing inside, or it's got kind of structural members inside that you can't really see from the outside. But essentially what it does is it gives a really solid spine. I can attach the body to that spine, and I can put the top on and almost put no structural load on the top. So the sound hole being here serves a few purposes. One, it gives me much more real estate on the top to generate sound from. So I don't have the complications of a sound hole here that I have to structurally compensate for. So this is all pretty much, it's very lightly braced internally. It's a Felkate bracing system. A Felkate bracing system is it's quite a radical departure from a traditional X-bracing system in the Dreadnought guitar. Martin's famous for those. And so I've been able, with this redesign, to leave the top pretty thin, very lightly braced, and able to resonate as loudly as possible.
So it's almost like a floating top.
Exactly. That's exactly it. It's the best way of putting it. It's a kind of floating top. There's no structural load really on the top, except the strings, which have to be there to drive the top. But otherwise, it's doing no structural work. That work is being done by the skeleton.
John, then let's quickly look at the two models that you've built. So let's start on that one. So body size, what would you say?
So I just call this a medium-sized body. It's probably very equivalent in volume to an OM. That's pretty much equivalent in volume to a Dreadnought, if you kind of did the maths on it. And you can hear the difference in it. That's got a much bigger, more authoritative voice. This is a much more kind of subtle voice, but they both project really strongly. This is an ADIRONDACK top, spruce top. So all the qualities of ADIRONDACK are evident in this. This is a cedar top. A little bit less headroom, a little bit more subtle, better for fingerstyle, warmer.
And we've got fan fret.
So they're fan fretted. So essentially what I've tried to do is design everything around the sound. The whole skeleton structure is around freeing up the top. The fan fret is about giving an extra length to the bass strings to get a more resonant and deep bass sound, and to give the trebles more kind of sharp cutting sound so that they cut through the mix a little. That's it's the best compromise in a way to get the best of both worlds.
And then back, I don't think we spoke about the back and side. So on this one, what do we have here?
This is Honduran rosewood.
Okay.
It's a pretty dense, heavy wood. That probably accounts for a lot of the weight as well. But it's got a lot of sustain and a lot of projection. This back and sides is wood called Gonzalo Alves, or tiger wood, I think they also call it.
Yeah.
It's a South American wood. It's a little bit lighter and less dense than that, so it has less sustain,
Yeah.
but it's still got quite good projection. Yeah.
And then the last thing, I think we spoke earlier about the position of the sound
Sure,
hole.
yeah. So that does a few things. One, it allows me to do away with the cutaway. So I don't need a cutaway on these guitars because the cutaway is built in. Secondly, it takes away the need to structurally compensate for a sound hole in the middle.
Yeah.
And the third thing, and I think this is the most useful thing about this, is it makes for what I think is one of the most serviceable necks in the world. So essentially, it's a little bit complicated, but the neck is joined to a heel block here, which with 3 bolts, and then another bolt which effectively locks the neck into these side wings.
Yeah.
So I can get this neck out in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
I can shim it, or I can plane it down to
Yeah.
readjust the neck angle. It does away with all those problems, the legacy problems, the hundreds of years of problems of
Yeah.
dovetail joints,
Yeah.
which are the bane of every
Yeah.
luthier who does any repair work. Yeah. So really, it's designed to make this neck super serviceable.
You've explained to us what this is all about and all the theories. I think the best way is to demonstrate your own guitars. I think we must make that the rule. If you want to come and show your guitars, you have to play them yourself.
That's fair.
So we're looking forward to hear what
Thanks
they
very
sound
much,
like.
and thanks very much for having me. Yeah.